What's going on, guys? It's Fear Turbo here, and we're going to talk about my updated Infernal Moon build. I did a lot of changes since last patch. We got the Death Royalty passives change, AoE caps got changed, and so this really added in, and also monster helmets got changed, and etc. So we changed a couple different things on the build, and I'm going to go over that right now. We'll just start off with the gear first. Vicious Death hasn't changed. We still want to use this because when a player explodes, they violently explode for 20,000 flame damage. Now, the number may seem higher than yours. That's because I'm a Dark Elf. It's very core to this build as well, being a Dark Elf. Also because I'm using Slime Crawl, which is giving me 8% damage done on everything, which is really important. So last time we used Grothar, and it could crit. That's the reason why. But now it can't. So we're just going to go with this damage boost skill. We're still using Moondancer now. I know a lot of you guys from the last time I posted this were a little iffy on the Minor Slayer thing. You just got to overlook that because it's just one set item. You just got to overlook it. I know it's pretty cringy to look at if you're solely PvP, but we're using it for the 5-piece, and I just got a Moondancer defending, which is, I was using a sharpened, I believe. It was yellow. Yeah, sharpened. We want defending on the back bar. It's going to give us big stats, and I'm going to show you that in a second. So basically what this set does is it gives me my sustain and my damage, which is really good on the no CP campaign. This build is for no CP. And I'm going to throw an enchant on there, different than that one. But this enchant, basically, I used to use the Fire Staff, and you just want a Flame enchant on it. For this, you're just going to want to use a Flame enchant on your Lightning Staff as well. Because I'm a Dark Elf, and it'll proc for a decent amount of damage. On the back bar, I'm not really sure which enchant I'm going to go with, but I'll write it up on the site. So we're going to go with the back bar defending Moondancer Staff. So when I activate a synergy from my teammates, I'm going to get either 1 or 2 buffs. So it's a 50-50 chance to get either Lunar Blessing, which is regen, or Shadow, which is damage. In Azura's, there's no CP, so everyone's defensive stats are much lower than normal. Even if you get regen, you can still kill people because of the Slime Crawl, how much damage boost we're giving our Vicious Death. We're using all damage glyphs on our rings. Like, this is very important that we're all damaged. Now, if we check our stats, we have 668 Magicka regen. We have no regen. No regen without the regen proc, and you're thinking, wow, how are we going to sustain? Well, there's a couple different ways, and that's through our skills. So, if we look at our bars, we've got Streak. Now we're going to, right now it's bugged, and they really got to fix this, but Streak is your go in and get out skill. The reason why we're going Streak over the one that absorbs projectiles is because sometimes the people in the back, the ranged people in big groups, they haven't been stunned yet. So when you're streaking through them, it's going to stun them and give them that second right before your proxy deck goes off. And all that burst plus the Death Royalty coming down, execute, boom, they're dead. So the stun is very, very nice. Crystal Frags is going to give you a lot of single target damage. And we had this on the last build, but we're going more single target focused in between fights, because basically the way we generate ultimate is by getting kills. And Frags is a free proc, is going to hit really hard. Endless Fury. Basically, this is part of our sustain. It's our execute damage that procs Vicious Death, but also it is our sustain. So basically, if you look at it, it costs almost 2k Magicka. But if you read the bottom, if any enemy is killed by this ability, you restore 4,417 Magicka. So you're basically gaining, 2k Magicka if you're constantly killing people with this. And you can tag them, and it lasts for 4 seconds. And you tag the lowest target, and then boom, the Death Royalty tickles them down, or maybe a teammate gets them down. Anybody that gets them down to 20%, boom. If they're not a super tank or they got a heal right as it hit, they're dead. and they're giving you Magicka back. So this is part of our sustain. Last patch we had more AoE focused, but this patch we're going more you single target between fights, being able to provide more than just bombing. So we're going with Crushing Shock instead of Impulse. Now, the Destra ulti, we used to use fire, and you're thinking, why am I using lightning on a Dark Elf which has fire boost? So basically, we got a huge damage boost to our AoE abilities because of this passive right here, Ancient Knowledge. So Ancient Knowledge, the Lightning Staff increases your damage done with area of effect abilities by 8%. So that pretty much covers the Dark Elf passive. The 7% extra fire damage. Also, we get 2% extra shock damage. So we have 8% from the Destro passive, 2% from our Dark Elf passive, and then for being a Sorc, we get 5% right here. So we're getting a huge boost to our shock damage and AoE damage in general. So we're having 15% extra damage on our Destro ulti, which is very, very big. Also, another big change, and I just found this out. I didn't think it through why the shock would be such a benefit, but on our third bar, Proxy Debt is basically when you time Proxy Debt into a group of people and it reaches its maximum percent, the Lightning Staff on your front bar is going to amp that by 8% on top of Slime Crawl. So the Proxy Debt is now like basically it's a miniature version. It's basically like a 75% version of a leap coming in and blowing up. I get so many kills now with just Proxy Debt, not even using my ult. Like going in, streaking, timing Proxy Debt. When I streak, and they get hit with other damage, and then boom, Proxy goes off, and I have an Endless Fury on one target, then Vicious Death does all the work, and they just fall down like dominoes. So the Lightning Staff really amped the total damage of the build potential, like going in and bombing. Now, the Destro ulti, is huge damage. And we're going to go over that in just a second. Let's go over the back bar. So our back bar is our defensive bar. We have a Resto Staff, a defending one, which is giving us a lot of defense. Harness is basically on here for extra coverage. So it's 6 seconds, pretty short. If you know you're going to get hit, just pop this on. If you have dots on you, you can pop this on, and it'll tickle and give you Magicka back. Empowered Ward. We had this morph because it costs less, and it also gives our party members minor intellect, which is giving everyone Magicka regen, and ourselves, which is really good when we get a regen proc. Healing Ward, we use this to... I don't use this as often as you would think. I'm in a group and I'm getting healed, but if I can cover somebody, if we're retreating and one person is obviously in the back getting smacked on, most likely a Templar, I can cover their Breath of Life back to full with this Healing Ward. The ward is going to be very big, and then they're trying to pop breaths, but there's so much damage coming out. This is going to allow them to get the health that they need on their health bar, and the damage will be absorbed by the Healing Ward. So it's very good not only for yourself, if you've line of sighted your team and you need some heals, or you're just caught out, or you're trying to heal an ally, or help them get to a point to where their health is so damn low. We're going with Power Surge here. This is basically giving us our buff, a minor heal, every now and then. But this is giving us our major sorcery buff, so we can use different pots. Bound Ages on both bars, because while it's slotted, it's giving us 8% max Magicka, and this build is built around spell damage. And every time you add a sorcerer ability to your bar, you gain 2% spell damage. So on both bars, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And on our front one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're getting 8% extra spell damage on both bars. So on our third bar, which is Overload, we're using Boundless Storm. This is going to be like a nice speed boost buff in our major resistances, which is going to make us pretty tanky. I mean, really tanky for being a light armor user. Mines. This is going to throw down mines in a big field, and they arm after a certain amount of time. And basically, you can use this in a choke point like this. And you see how they have to move to the terrain. So now there's like 2 mines here, or 3 mines here. And when somebody steps on them, man, they hurt pretty bad. I mean, they got a 6k tooltip, and then they hit 3 of them. That dude's so low, you know, hit him with an Endless Fury, and then he blows up. And it's all about killing one guy, and it's a domino effect, etc. And it's also a root and an immobilize, which is really good. Dark Conversion. Now, basically, the way to use this is you convert Magicka. You convert stamina into Magicka. So let's say I threw a bunch of mines, and I'm low on Magicka. For a tiny bit of stamina, I'm getting so much Magicka back. For 2k stam, I'm gaining almost 5 or 7k Magicka back, and I'm healing myself, which is cut in for Battle Spirit, but it is a nice heal. So the way I use this is if I'm getting a lot of spell damage procs, which is good because I'm doing a lot of damage, I'll do this a couple times, and then I'll ask for a shard, and that'll reproc my set. Even on Overload bar, you still get your set bonus. So this is on the back bar, and I use Overload, and I'm still getting my Moon Dancer. So if I take a synergy while I'm in Overload, I still get my Moon Dancer procs. Proxy Debt, we talked about this. Man, it hits so hard with the Destro ulti passives now. And we have Bound Ages to make sure it doesn't go off when we swap around. And it gives us our minor buffs, which is really nice. And it's going to make us pretty tanky. So let's take a look at my stats real quick. So I have 17 on my front bar. I'm not as tanky because it's sharpened. So look at those. Those are pretty weak numbers because you're in light armor. If I go to my back bar, I gain 5k to, well, it's not, almost, yeah, I almost, let's see, do I have a defending staff in here? Just want to show you a golden one, but basically you're going to get about 5k resistances when you have a golden staff on your bar. And when we go to our back bar, we pop our speed buff, AoE damage, and major buffs. We're pretty, look at those now. We're amped up. We're almost 23k spell and 21k physical in no CP. So we're pretty tanky for no CP campaign in light armor. Damage dealing, big damage. Another thing you'll notice is when you're trying to get away, instead of streaking, this little speed buff is actually very, very good. So you can streak once, go to your back bar, gain some Magicka, and then hit the speed, and for 7.5 seconds you'll be pretty fast, and you won't have to streak as much. The streak costs a lot of Magicka if you use it more and more. Let's see. Alright, so now we're going to go over the Moon Dancer procs. So if we take a look at we're on our front bar. So we have 2284 spell damage. And we have basically no regen. So let's take a look. So we're going to be on our back bar. He's going to throw us a shard. We're going to get the regen proc. Now we have 1242 regen. If I use this skill like we talked about, then I get, if I use Empowered Ward, it gives me minor intellect. So I gain 1380 or 38 regen right here. And if I take a pot, then I gain 1529 regen. So now I have a lot of regen on top of, you know, Harness Magicka giving me regen, Endless Fury giving me regen. Also, I didn't mention. Oh, when you kill somebody with a Destro ulti or Crushing Shock, you gain Magicka back. So there's a lot of different little niche ways to get Magicka back, not just having actual regen. So let's get a different proc. So now we got spell damage. So now if we buff up our spell damage, we gained like 1,000 spell damage off the amps and just one proc of Moondancer, which is really nice because now this is our spell damage is going to get amped by group members using a Templar using the minor sorcery buff from their passives, continuous attacks from the Alliance right here. After you take a keep or a resource, you gain regen, which is going to go on top of your regen procs. You gain spell damage by 10%. So you're basically stacking spell damage in one set and regen. And when you're flip-flopping, it's getting amped by all these amps, which are really nice. Also, I forgot to mention, Sorcs have 10% Magicka regen in here as well, which is another amp in the no CP campaign. Their passives for Sorcs are extremely strong for raw damage, raw regen, and having low cost ultimates right here for the Power Stone right here. So yeah, also the pots I'm using are Essence of Immovability, which give me immunity to knockbacks and disabling effects for about 15.5 seconds. Also, I like to use the Major Prophecy, which is getting my crit buff. If you notice, I don't have a crit buff here. I have my major spell damage, but I don't have a crit buff. So I have 36.3% crit with the Thief. If I take this pot, I have 46.3% crit, which is a lot of crit. A lot of crit for the no CP campaign. And I can afford using the Thief because I have the regen from my teammates throwing me shards for stam regen. I have Dark Conversion, and I have the Moondancer proc. So all of these different things work very well. So let's say I'm like bone out of Magicka. Let's just dump it all. I get a shard. So now I'm pushing my stam into Magicka, as you can see. And I take a proc, now look at my stats. Didn't even use a pot. All in a small window. I did about 3 or 4, maybe 5 conversions, and then I took a shard, which gives me 25% of my stamina back with 1 shard. Also, the Undaunted passives give you stats back. So all these little things, they add up, and it's made to work in a team setting from like 3 players to 12 players. You know, if you like to play even bigger groups, then yeah, you can go for that. But basically, it's made for like a small to mid-sized group of bombing players and working well off of what those other players do well. Like, if you have somebody that can CC in your group and negate them, and you have healers and you have other damage dealers, this build really goes well with them, providing utility through mines and big burst on multiple targets. Also, if you have stam users that have a lot of high damage, like they go in and they usually burst somebody really low, Endless Fury, boom, they're dead. And if there's somebody near them, Vicious Death procs, and it hits so hard. Another note is when they changed Monster Helms to non-crit, they changed all proc sets to non-crit. So Vicious Death is considered a proc, so it cannot crit. So we lost a bit of damage there, but we gained it back sort of in different ways through the Death Royalty passives. When it could crit, man, I had, like I said, remember I had 46.3% crit? I had a lot of crit. So every time Vicious would proc, it would have a huge chance to crit. And so that was really good. Also, you can have somebody guard you, and that would give you minor force, which is basically this buff. You don't want to use trap, but it's basically giving you minor force, critical damage done by 10%. So somebody can guard you, if you're starting off with this build, you don't need to be guarded, but you can have someone guard you between, you know, going in and out. That way you don't get popped really quick. Also, the Resto ulti. I wonder if I have it leveled on this character. No, I don't. But the Resto ulti gives you major force, and it also gives you major protection, which you're going to be extremely tanky, and you want your healers running this as well. So there's a lot of teamwork going into PvP groups, and you want to talk to your group so you can, you know, work around what you need, what they need, how you can work with them. And this is a build that is made for groups. It's not a solo build. It's made for groups because you need synergies to get your sustain, or get a way to sustain, and to get your damage. Like I said, it's a 50-50 proc, so let me take a shard. On my back bar, I got spell damage. And he's going to throw me an orb. Look, I got spell damage again. So it's just a 50-50 proc. I got spell damage again. One more. Bone shield. Bone shield, bud. And then I got regen. So you can kill players with the regen proc, without the regen, or with the spell damage proc. You'll notice a slight difference. I know it's a big 1000 swing, but in Azura's there's no CP. So if there's a lot of players and you have a spell damage proc, you kind of want to tell your team leader, you know, hey, I got a spell damage proc, my ult is ready. Then you go to your back bar, you do your buffs, you throw out one dark deal, then you go back, make sure your crit's up, and then you go in and you Death Ulti. And see the proc on the proxy, it procs at the same time, and then you just start endless furying the lowest targets. And man, does it hurt bad. If you've ever watched Fang Rush's group, when I'm in there, shit blows up, and we just kill it. But thanks guys, thanks for watching. There'll be a lot of information in the description below about where you can find more information about this build. Also, just look past the Miner Slayer. I know you guys are gonna get caught up on this. It's a PvE set, but it's a very unique set, and it can be found in Maul of Lorcash. You can do normal Maul of Lorcash, which anyone can do. Anyone can do. Grab 12 players and go in there. Anyone can do. You can get blue jewelry and blue weapons and blue gear. Anyone can do it. Or what you can do is you can get Vicious Death jewelry, which you can buy. I don't think I have it on this character. I wonder if there it is. You can get Vicious Death jewelry and just wear Moondancer gear. The only problem with that is that you won't have End Pen. You'll see here I have a Divine's one. But like I said, you have your group for some of your buffs. I only have 1k crit resist, but when I have trans in the group, I've got 2k. So you need to talk with your group and like get together and, you know, organize how you're going to be successful in PvP. So thanks guys, thanks for watching. Again, leave a comment down below if you have any questions, if I forgot to cover something. Obviously I'm not going over the CP because this is a no CP campaign build, and it will work for the changes if you wanted to use it in True Flame or a CP campaign. So thanks guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.
Do anything for your rip. You got it.
Okay, well.
Streaking from getting bugged. Woo! Yeah, buddy.
Yeah! It's a streak bug, dude! Let me out of here.
Let me get up!
Dude, I'm still streak bugged.
Fighting in so much siege.